So I just got out of work, jumped on the bike, and got on the highway, and I was just getting underway, you know, and I was wondering, just kind of mulling around in my head if I wanted to talk about anything, and I thought maybe I'd talk about highway riding. I remember the first time I rode on the highway, you know, white knuckle experience, and I'm just kicking this around in my head, and this guy pulls out from the divider right in front of my lane, and I don't know if he didn't see me or what, but you know, just a perfectly timed example of the kind of stuff that happens really anywhere. It doesn't have to be on the highway, but it happens here too. Woo! So, well, let me just back up and say I'm really glad I rode my bike today, because although it was 35 this morning, it is gorgeous now. It's about 60 something, and it feels great. And I was so excited all day to know that when the work day was over, I was going to come out and jump on the bike. So I'm heading home. It's just, I can't remember the last time I had a day like this. You know, the sky's clear, there's no rain, it's sunny, it's glorious, it's not dark. It's just, every now and then you just get a perfect window to ride, and that's right now. So, riding on the highway, I'm doing 70 miles an hour. Alright, that guy just passed me, no big deal. There's times when I'm cruising along like this, and somebody will go past me doing at least 20-25 miles an hour faster than me. I mean, that's 90 or more. And people drive like that. This morning when I was riding in, there was a group of cars in my left lane, about 8 cars, that were within 5 to 8 feet of each other, bumper to bumper, doing 80. You know, if one person has to hit the brakes for some reason, all those people are not going to have the reaction time to stop. You're just going to have a nasty multi-car accident. So when I get out here, I want to stay as far away from everybody as I can. Like even right now, the car in front of me, he's about 3 seconds ahead of me. They say 2 seconds minimum, you know, 4 seconds better. I really don't want to be any closer to him. I'm looking in my side mirrors. I can see a whole bunch of cars coming. So right now I have to make a decision. Do I want to stay here for a while behind this guy and let all these other cars pass me? Or do I just want to pass this guy because he's just going a little slower than I want to go? And you have that decision a lot of times. And so right now, I'm just going to stay put. There's a truck up there. The cars next to the truck aren't moving particularly fast. Now I got people coming up behind me. This whole wad of cars is just going to all come together up at that truck. I don't want to be anywhere near them. I don't want to be anywhere near them. And it's not that anything's going to happen to them. It's just look how tight they are. Why would I want to be in the middle of that? So I'm just going to hang back here, let them all do whatever they're doing. Now I look in the mirror, and it's pretty clear back there. I mean, there's one person behind me who's been staying put, and if I want to pass, you know, I can, but I really don't need to. We're moving along at a good clip. But, you know, riding out here is, you got to be smart. You've got to constantly be aware of what's happening all around you. You're watching for anything on the road, something loose, something, a hole, crack, whatever. And there's just a lot, you know, you can't get out here and daydream and get comfortable. You have to be on, you know, on edge, on guard, whatever the term is. Alert. You have to be alert and thinking about what other people might do so that you can move if you have to. I have my thumb right on the horn switch anytime I'm passing someone. And anytime I'm in a situation where somebody could potentially do something dumb and encroach in my area, I'm covering the brake, the horn, the whole deal, you know, just trying to anticipate. So anyway, even if there was no one else out here but me, riding on the highway in the beginning, it definitely is daunting. The very, very first time I rode on the highway was kind of funny. It was about a week after I started riding. I had to take this bike down to the dealer and get my new tires. I had pretty much mapped out taking back roads the whole way, but there was one little sliver where I came down a ramp, and the ramp went about 100 yards and just continued into an off-ramp. So I never technically crossed onto the 2 lanes of the highway. I just stayed on the ramp the whole time. And I think, you know, 55 miles an hour or something. And I just kind of laughed with a friend of mine that, you know, that was my first time on the highway for a couple of seconds. But coming home later that day, I did get on the interstate for about a 10-mile jaunt. And, you know, it was a white-knuckle experience for me. You're not supposed to squeeze the bars tight. You're supposed to be very relaxed. And I wasn't. You know, I've learned a lot since then. But each time out, I improved a little bit. You know, 50, 55 miles an hour. I remember the first time I went 60. And, you know, then 65. And so each time, you know, little milestones, getting a little more comfortable with it. The very first time I was out, I didn't have a windshield. And wow, the feeling of all that air pushing me back. I was like, I need a windshield right now, you know. Well, let me tell you, windshield's great. I have it on all the time. But I've taken this windshield off and gone down the highway at speed. And yes, you're holding on. The air is pushing on your chest. It is quite amazing. But no problem at all. No issues. And that just comes with experience, doing things repetitively, getting more comfortable, all that. So I've probably got about 4,000 miles or so riding on the highway over the last 6 or 7 months, and it's still something, like I said, you know, a little daunting in the sense that you constantly have to be vigilant to what's going on, because a mistake at high speed is much more costly than a mistake at a lower speed, usually, right? I mean, just common sense there. Beautiful view, by the way. So, you know, if I've read people online that are, you know, I've never been on the highway, or I'm not sure about it, there's nothing you can really do other than do it. You know, take a stretch of highway that you know is in decent shape, preferably not at rush hour, things like that. You know, put the odds in your favor and ride it, and then just get more familiar with it, and pretty soon it will be second nature. I remember when I was first riding out here, that changing lanes was something that made me a little uneasy, because there are a lot of uneven surfaces out here, and sometimes when you change lanes you feel a little twitch in the wheels, and that's not a real comfortable feeling. Alright, I am done with this truck. Wow. Smell of diesel is just awful. Anyway, one thing that is good to do, and this is something that I learned in the video Twist of the Wrist 2, is that when you are in a turn, you should be gradually accelerating. You cut your speed ahead of the turn. You then go into the turn, you know, flick your bike if it's that kind of a turn, and then you're gradually accelerating. Well, that logic definitely is beneficial out here. I don't want to get gas. I need gas, but I just don't want to. I'm not going to run out, but I'll get it tomorrow morning. Anyway, so my approach generally when changing lanes, if I have the option, is I will go off the throttle just a bit, get my signal on, and when the coast is clear, I will gradually accelerate as I'm changing lanes. And why do you do that? Because you're putting more power to the rear wheel and less to the front. And the front on my bike is thinner, so I definitely want the back wheel having more traction back there. And it just pushes you through. It pushes you through that groove, if there's a groove there. If you're not accelerating, if you're just kind of coasting or holding steady, you get this uneven feeling of your front tire in the groove, and it can make you nervous. You feel that little twitch of the bike. So the point is to avoid that and just go over that line, groove, seam, whatever, with a little more power to the rear. The bike is just powering through it, and it feels so much better. So that is one tip that I could mention. Increase my confidence out here changing lanes. And I do give the bike a little flick, like I just did there when I change lanes. It all depends on the situation. If you're in heavier traffic or something like that, you have to be mindful of all that. You definitely don't want to make any sudden moves, especially when there are other drivers out here, because they don't know what you're doing. So signal early and often. So those are some tips just from me, a noob, to anybody else who is kicking around the idea of how do I get started riding on the highway. Practice at low speeds, make sure you're in control of your bike. You should be practicing panic braking and things like that. All the fundamentals. You need them at lower speeds. So obviously you need them at higher speeds. So when you are ready, you will do well and enjoy it. So that's my few thoughts on highway riding. And I'm going to enjoy the rest of this gloriously sunny ride home.